Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Mark Walmsley. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're an independent, growing global community of over 185,000 now, right across the arts all over the world. I don't get to meet everyone, as you can imagine, but when I do, it's a pleasure. And Melody has joined me today. Melody is one of our new full members. As a community, we're entirely member funded at the moment, and so it's very much appreciated when someone joins us as a full member. It's currently just £10 a month or €13 or about $13, which is about the same as a large coffee and a muffin in the high street, I'm told. Melody, thank you so much for joining
Thank
me
you.
today. We're going to have some fun today. I'm going to create
Yeah,
your fantasy cultural year from the answers to some easy questions to which there are no wrong answers.
sure.
It's my way of pulling out preferences, surprises, anecdotes, and sometimes conversational detours. So that's
Yeah.
the plan. But before we do that, perhaps you'd be kind enough to say hello to everybody. Let us know where you are. And I know you're on the job hunt at the moment. We've spoken several times. Anyone would be very lucky to have you on their team, from what I've learned about you. And I know that you prefer to be somewhere in southwest France for your work, and that you're near Biarritz and Bordeaux is close by. So please tell us about the work you're aspiring to do as, and you like this phrase, an aspiring cultural communication professional with several languages. There you
Yeah,
go.
thank you, Mark. So, yeah, I'm currently based in France, in the southwest of France, and I just finished my PhD in French literature. So, and I also have a degree in masters, in cultural heritage. So, I'm like super interested into arts and culture, which shouldn't be a surprise because Arts and Culture Network. And I'm currently looking for an opportunity, a professional opportunity, like right here in the south of France, like southwest of France. But I'm also like open to the entirety of France, like. And also, I have to mention that currently I am of Chinese nationality. I am like looking to gain the French nationality, and I for this I need a job like as soon as possible. But of course, like I'm trying to like also pivot myself to the right people, and I know that people in this network are could be interested by what I want to do. And should I also talk about like my interests right now, or not yet?
We'll
Okay.
get there. We'll get there in a moment. That's
Okay.
great. But I
Yeah.
would love to know, what does the dream first job look like for you?
Dream first job is, well, in the south of France in either a museum or an art gallery, or like in a library, that kind of like really like connecting to people who also like arts and culture. And also like, what about like theaters? Probably, yeah. So just really where people love arts and people just come here like to enjoy the arts, enjoy like books and other things like cultural heritage, like really anything cultural. I'm super open because I have like experiences in these fields like separately as well.
Well, your experience is very broad. It's fantastic. And
Thank
we've
you.
met several times, and you're fantastic, charming, friendly, approachable, all of the right things. That's 80% of the job. So
Yeah.
wonderful. So wherever this appears, there'll be a profile about you and your experience and your qualifications and links
Yeah.
to you.
Sure.
Excellent. What about a superpower? What would you suggest your superpower was in relation to
Uh,
work?
I love this question actually. I think my superpower is storytelling because like I love to write. I love to write like academically, like professionally, because I'm a researcher, so I love to write, and I'm a researcher in literature. So like I know that words hold power. Yeah, words hold power, so superpower. And
Hmm.
I also write like in my free time. I've got a blog that I'm currently still working on because I'm like redoing some of the designs, and I know like I am so far away from people who do have a linear like kind of experience because I grew up in China, and then I grew up bilingual in Chinese and English in China, and then I came to France. Like I learned French in China in Beijing, and then I decided to come to France, and then I did a lot of things like during my studies because, and like, well, some people like, and also I would say storytelling, because sometimes when a person actually looks at my CV, they'll be a little bit lost. But then I tell them how this actually works, how it's actually coherent. They're like, "Oh, right, that's how it's coherent." So yeah, storytelling. I'm a storyteller, and I want to tell the stories of an art institution, a cultural institution. So just like really exploring in those fields.
That's great. I often ask this question to people who speak multiple languages. What
Hmm.
language do you dream in?
I mainly dream in English, but recently in French, and actually like sometimes like in both in English, French, and just like mixed. But recently it's been mainly in French because recently I'm been looking for a job and I dream about like job interviews. Horrible!
Fantastic.
Don't dream about that, people.
No, I will share with you on another call the killer question that you can ask at the end of an interview.
Yeah.
Okay, remind me to do that when we next meet. It's in the articles on my LinkedIn profile if anybody wants to know. Um, and what about your passions away from work? What do you do when you're not working? What fills your
Yeah.
heart with joy?
I would say, what can I only choose one?
No, you can choose more than one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Because I love traveling. Like I've been, well, thanks to my family's like kind sponsoring, obviously. I've traveled to a lot of places in Europe like since I came to France, because I came to France like around 8 years ago. So I love traveling, and when I travel, I also listen to people. I'm like, which language are they speaking? Like that kind of thing. So that's kind of already connected to my like the base of my a lot of my other passions. And I also am a big fan of like musical theater. I've seen musicals like when I was in Beijing, but like then I also had the opportunity to go to the UK. I had the opportunity to go to London, and like I watched The Phantom of the Opera, Hamilton, and Les Miserables. Like my life wishes have come true in a way. And I
Oh, that's
and I
great.
I also write about like musicals like in French, but I also write as a volunteer, so about musicals. And currently I'm also just like exploring the possibilities of being a serious researcher and also someone who has a childlike like how to say wonder. I'm currently obsessed with Miraculous Ladybug. So if anyone knows that, that's very niche. So yeah.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Well, so if anyone in the glam sector and including theatre, so galleries, libraries, archives, museums, theatres,
I love
um,
archives. Oh my
then
God.
yeah, I love that acronym, GLAM. It's great.
Yeah, glamorous.
Now, before we go on our fantasy cultural year together, I want to put you on the spot. Let's assume you've been asked to do a 15-minute talk on a subject of your choice without notes, but it can't be work related. What
That's that
what what are you going to talk about?
probably about musicals, because I love like musicals across languages. I love musicals in English, but also in German and like in French, and also adaptations in other languages. Like for instance, I really love the Spanish version of Les Miserables. So
Mm.
so yeah, so I could talk about musicals for so long, and I just find them very inspiring. Yeah.
Well, you'll love one of the questions that's coming up. That's great. Excellent. So wherever this appears, there'll be links to you and information about you. But we're now going to go on our fantasy cultural year. And I should point out that I have a time machine and a magic wand at hand. I know you've got a magic wand at home
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Um,
from Disneyland.
yeah. So I should actually get one. I bought my daughter a Hermione's magic
Oh,
wand, but
Hermione. Wingardium Leviosa. It's not
Yes,
Leviosa.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah, big Potterhead too.
Fantastic. I'm listening to the adaptation, the theatrical adaptation at the moment.
Oh,
I've read Stephen Fry read it
I
through.
love his voice. I love his voice. Oh
Yeah,
my.
but I'm now doing the theatrical radio play
Yeah,
version of it. So I'm still on book one. It's going to take ages. So
indeed.
um, wonderful. Now. I'm going to place you somewhere in the world. Okay. And to do that, I need to ask you, what's your favorite building?
The castle from Disneyland.
I
because
love it. I love it. The Disney Castle. I remember Buena Vista Entertainment when I was a kid, and the Saturday morning would come on, and it was Disney, and
yeah,
they would appear, and the modern day one where that sort of shot is coming back away from the river, and the spire just
yeah.
turns
Oh
up.
my God, yeah, like that.
Yeah,
And like
yeah,
you
love it.
and you never forget about the first time you saw the Disney castle, like in the park. You never
Yeah,
forget about that.
I know, and I did it recently with my granddaughter, so it's
Oh,
great. Excellent. Okay.
it's
Um,
a blur on your side, by the way. Like,
yes, I know. I've spotted that.
oh,
It'll get there. We
oh,
go. It'll get there.
okay. Hello,
Hello.
magic, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit blurry. Yes. Okay, so I'd like you to imagine that you're sitting at a cafe in Disneyland in Los Angeles,
Hmm.
within sight of the castle. And because this is my fantasy cultural year,
Yeah,
we can do this.
yeah.
Uh,
Because I've never been there, by the way.
right,
But,
well, you're sitting there, and there is a drink on the table next to you.
mhm.
What would I find there at 6 p.m. on a warm June evening?
Mm. Oh, I love that. A drink. Yeah,
Yes. What
yeah.
what drink? What would we
Oh,
find? What would you have there?
uh, Diabolo. I don't know how to say that in English. Like the Diabolo, like that kind. It's non-alcoholic, but it's like sparkling water, but with some like juice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get that. That's
Yeah.
lovely. Now there's a book
Yeah.
on the table next to you as well.
Hmm.
It can be any book you like. It can be a recent discovery, or it might be a favorite book from childhood,
Yeah. Hmm.
or a book that's been with you all your life. What would we find there?
This one, Wicked.
Oh, I've not read the book.
I'm reading. I haven't finished yet,
Mm,
but I think realistically by June I will get to read the book because I
okay.
got a crazy TBR. It's so
Yeah. And your headphones are in, and there's some music playing. What's playing in that scenario?
Disney songs in Danish.
Disney songs in Danish.
Yeah, I
Wow.
actually took the time to do some like Danish lessons on Duolingo, but then like obviously I don't have time because I'm also learning German and Spanish and it's hard to maintain. But
So
I
there we
hope
have. This
then.
is a lovely picture. It's you. I keep going blurry again. Let me put another light on. Hold on. See if this
Yeah,
makes a difference. This will probably make me look all washed out, but it might stop it doing.
we can see still see you. Oh, yeah, we can still see you. Yeah,
There we
so
go. Oh,
yeah,
shiny forehead. Um, excellent. Okay, so next up, so there's the picture. I've got you by the Disney Castle in Los Angeles at
yeah,
Disneyland. We've got your Diablo drink,
yeah.
and we've got um, Disney songs in Danish in your
Yeah.
ears,
Actually, mm,
and you've got the book,
yeah,
Wicked.
and actually, like the Diablo. Why did I think about that? Because I've got a friend like who lives in Paris, and the first time she was the one who introduced me to that drink. So when I miss her, I order one. And
Brilliant.
Danish because I've got a friend in Denmark.
Fantastic.
So,
Excellent. Now you're feeling quite pleased with yourself
mhm.
because um, you've just come from a meeting inside the castle, okay,
Mhm.
with a family foundation that's supported by the Disney Corporation.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they are supporters of the arts and heritage and culture. Okay. Now, they would like to hire you for a year. Okay. It's very well paid, this job. You get to travel the world first class. And they would like you to do a world tour because of your multilingual talents. They'd like you to travel the world and put together some ideas for how best to communicate cultural characteristics of different countries, um,
Mhm.
and put together a kind of not a league table, but an anthology of cultural communication gold standards. Okay, you get to go and visit galleries, libraries, archives, museums, heritage sites, academic institutions all over the world to put this together. It's very well paid and it's first class all the way. And I have a magic wand and a time machine. You will be followed by a TV crew because they want to create a TV show out of it. You will get a book deal. You'll do a TED talk. You'll do a global university lecture tour, and you will be on morning television.
How did you know those were on my like bucket list? You see it?
Yeah, there we go. I told you this is aspirational and motivating. All you have to do is to decide where you're going to start. You can go anywhere in the world. Where are you going to go from Los Angeles?
From Los Angeles, I think I will first go to Prince Edward Island in Canada.
Wow.
Yeah, very precise.
Yeah,
Because
that's great.
I'm a huge fan of Anne of Green Gables. Those books basically shaped my entire childhood, like my entire adolescence. I haven't finished those books yet because I'm reading according to my age, and I am still too young to read the following book. I want to be the same age as the protagonist to
That's wonderful.
read the books.
That's a wonderful way of doing it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, when you get there to Prince Edward Island, a group of young arts and culture students welcome you. They show you to a beautiful log cabin. Okay. And they say, we're going to take you out to a dance performance and take you out to dinner. Now, where would the nearest is Toronto on that side or not? Montreal.
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure actually.
I think we'll go to Montreal from there.
Why
Okay.
not?
They're going to fly you to Montreal first class, and they're going to take you to a dance performance and out to dinner. Now, this is where the magic wand comes in and the time machine, because I can put any dance-based performance on the stage in front of you. And go back in time. You can have dancers who are no longer with us. You can have any dance group or any dance style. What would you like to watch?
Swan Lake in ballet, because Swan Lake in ballet because when I was little, like my dad would take me to Swan Lake almost every year. Like it was kind of a Christmas tradition within the family. And the funny part was that he didn't even like the show that much because he doesn't really understand ballet. But since I was a minor, he would always buy a place to literally like sleep by my side on his seat.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. Now they're going to take you out to dinner afterwards, and you can choose the national cuisine. What would you choose?
Colombian food.
There we go. Colombian
Because
food.
my best friend is Colombian, and like he's currently in France, and like he also really well one of my best friends, because I have met a lot of good people here, and he just like is also someone who speaks a bunch of languages. So yeah, Colombian
Wow.
cuisine.
Fantastic. Now we're going to buzz again. Where are we going now from Canada?
From Canada, I think we can go to oh, that's a tricky one. Probably go to my hometown, like in the northeast of China, because I want to see my hometown from an a professional lens. Like I want to, and I also want to present people to people like me, because like I feel that when you're an international, people from your home country, from your hometown, they probably also don't understand like the whole dimension of like what your story, like they how to say, they don't understand, they don't necessarily understand the scale of your story. And I really want to prove to them but also to myself that I can be multicultural, but also not just like in the sense of like really connecting the cultures in the way of, okay, I am fully this, I am fully that, because I am not fully anything, and that's where the richest part is.
Yeah, that's great. So what's the name of your hometown?
Dalian, so it's
Yeah.
Dalian. So
And where is the nearest big city to that? Which is
Beijing,
the
Beijing, I would say
Beijing?
like
Yeah,
Tokyo and
okay.
Beijing actually, but we're like in between.
Yeah, well, let's go to Beijing.
Yeah.
When we get there, it's sport day in China. Okay. I'm going to take you to a sporting event. You can watch anything you like. It doesn't have to be Chinese culture or sport.
Mm-hmm.
Some sport is performance art.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to watch for a couple of hours?
Absolutely skating, like the ice skating,
Are you
and with
looking forward to the Winter Olympics? That's coming
little,
on soon, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
because I find it so elegant, like kind of dangerous because I'm not super sporty, but it's also like fascinating to see the girls and boys and like on ice, like all the Disney magic, also like Frozen vibes. So
Yeah. My I didn't go, but my granddaughter went with my wife to see Disney on Ice
I would love to.
at the O2. That was great fun. Excellent. That's a great choice. Now, we're gonna buzz again to somewhere else. Let's go from your hometown. Where are we going now?
Norway.
Norway. Fantastic. Oslo.
Yes. The,
Um, Now, in Oslo, in our fantasy cultural year, there is a new digitally enhanced art gallery, and you can
very possible.
put on a set of virtual reality,
Hmm.
uh, a headset, and you can step into the work of a famous artist. It becomes three-dimensional. It becomes 360 degrees. You can
Well,
walk around inside the picture. There is animation, there is sound, and you can see in 3 dimensions what the artist was only able to show us in two. Okay.
yeah.
Whose work do you want to step into?
Frida Kahlo. Frida
Oh, yes.
Oh my God. And also that
Oh,
like she like it's also very interesting because like I said Norway because that's the only like one of the only like Scandinavian countries I haven't been to. I've been to Denmark, I've been to Sweden. But then like one of my favorite artists is Frida Kahlo, so it's just like from a place that where it's like pretty hot and that's the cold and hot. So.
yeah, nice. I love that. That's a great choice. Now I'm going to whisk you back to London.
Yeah.
We're going out together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On Monday, we're going to a concert,
Yeah.
Back in Time. On Tuesday, we're going to the theatre. On Wednesday, we're going to a musical. On Thursday, we're going to the opera. And on Friday, we're going to the movies. And we can choose between us what we see. So I'd like you to think of a concert that you attended that you'd love to go back in time to to experience again.
I would say a concert by Mika.
Mika.
Yeah, I've seen him twice, and the second time I think he saw me. So yeah, I guess I was standing like it was a small concert hall in
Yeah,
in
he's
Reims.
he's great. He did a series. I don't know if you saw it, but in the UK they did this piano series.
I know that
Yeah.
one. And like also Mika is also very inspiring for me because he is himself a polyglot. And like if you
Mm,
grow up a bilingual or polyglot, like a lot of people are just gonna tell you you can only become a teacher or a translator. Those are good jobs, but like Mika
mm.
literally showed me the different reality. He
Yeah,
is
which is
using
great.
his languages like in the countries and
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just so
whatever you
inspiring.
do in life, my niece is she's 4 years old and she's
Oh,
quadrilingual.
oh my God, that's so
So,
nice. Keep it
yeah.
up, keep it up.
Yeah, English, Spanish, Latvian, and German. So
German.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. What
Wow.
she goes to, she's got an English father, a Latvian mother, and she goes to a
Oh.
Spanish nursery in Berlin. So whatever she chooses to do, that will be a huge advantage.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
also working on my Spanish and German. Like Spanish is because like I live in the south, so it's easier to get exposed to the language. And German is actually started from German musicals. Like
Mm,
very niche.
yeah. Very niche. Talking of musicals, what are we going to
Yeah.
see on Wednesday?
Oh my God. In London, right?
Oh no, we haven't done the play,
I
have
know.
we?
I know.
Let's do the
No, probably no.
what
No.
Shakespeare play are we going to?
Romeo and Juliet.
Nice. Great choice. We'll go to the Globe Theatre in London.
Yes, please.
Um, a musical. We can go to the premiere if you wish. Back in Time.
Six.
Six. My friend of mine was one of the first six.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because like actually I didn't get the last time I went to London, I didn't get the chance to see it because the schedule wasn't like fitting right. And the next day
Yeah,
I was heading to either Cambridge or Bath, which was good. But like then I missed six, and then
yeah,
I have listened to the whole album like on repeat. It's so inspiring.
yeah. On paper, that show doesn't work.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
because it's a modern interpretation of Henry VI's,
Yeah,
Henry VIII's wives. It shouldn't work, but it does. It's great.
very
Now,
inspiring.
are you an opera fan, Melody?
I'm starting to get into opera, but like I don't know much. I don't know as much to really call myself a fan, but like I just love putting it like as a background
Well,
because
I
why
think
not?
we'll go to the Royal Opera House and we'll watch Tosca by
Yeah.
Puccini. That's a great introduction, a wonderful
Oh
opera.
my God. Nice.
And then Friday is film night.
Film night.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What are we going to watch? What would you choose?
Like to go back in time.
We can watch anything you like. So it doesn't have to be back in time, but
Oh, okay.
you can have
Hmm.
anything you like.
My Fair Lady.
Oh, what a choice. I love that. My Fair Lady. That's
Audrey
great.
Hepburn. My hero, my muse, my everything. She
Yeah.
like she passed on a January 20th, 1993, and every January 20th, I think about her.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. Um, so that's our fantasy week done. That's the start of your fantasy cultural year. You're going to go off and do all of this wonderful work and become the go-to person for effective cultural communication and storytelling in different areas of the world. But before you do, I'm going to give you a hero lunch. You can
Mm.
invite one person and they will come, and it can be anyone you like. It can
Like
be living or not, famous or otherwise, but they will come. So who would you like to have lunch with for a couple of hours in a Colombian restaurant in
mm,
London?
mm, can he be work related?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because the French poet Arthur Rimbaud.
Wow.
By the way, like in a song by Mika, Good Guys, he mentions the name Rimbaud, like Rimbaud. Yeah, just so
Ah,
you know.
that's
Because
great.
I like the past almost 12 years I've been working on him. Like first I discovered his works like in a book that I found in China, but like a Penguins edition of his like selected poems and letters of Arthur Rimbaud, but like in French and in English. At the time I didn't speak any French, and then I decided to learn French like in bachelor's degree like in Beijing, and then everything like just kind of came together, and like I did a bunch of like research on him. I did my PhD dissertation on him. I even dedicated it to him.
Mm,
So yeah, I
that's
would
a
I would
lovely
have
thing to
lunch,
do.
have food, some meal time with him. He probably wouldn't like it because he's particular, but I would make him like me.
In a slight twist to that question, and to finish off, who do you think he would invite?
Oscar Wilde.
Yeah, he gets a lot of invites in these interviews.
I know. Like he's so inspiring. Like he's inspiring but scarily so, because like
Yeah,
Dorian Gray like destroyed me
I
and my
know.
sanity.
Yes.
But also he
Um,
also wrote in French at one point, so
he
that's
did, and he's
fascinating.
buried in France, isn't he?
I think so. Oh my God, I
Yeah,
think so.
I think he's in buried in Paris, I think. Yeah. Melody, thank you so much for being such a good sport and doing this so well.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute delight. Thank you. Wherever this appears, there'll be links to you and information about you, which we can update when you
Yeah.
get that job, right?
Yeah. I already have a mini update. Like I'm starting an unpaid, unfortunately, but still unpaid internship in an art gallery for a month starting next Monday.
Oh,
So
that's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is unpaid, but like I really want to get into the arts and culture thing, because like when you're in literature, you can say it's culture, but then people when upon seeing a researcher, they probably think it's someone who is like very cold and very like distant. But I want
Mm,
to prove that I can be the opposite. I can be a storyteller. I can be a serious researcher and a Disney fan.
yeah.
So
Oh, well, congratulations.
okay,
Thank you so much. Don't rush off, but for the time being, I hope you've enjoyed your fantasy cultural year. I just got visions of you at a
yeah.
Disney castle with a drink in your hand, and
Yeah, gonna dream of that. Dream about
yeah,
that. Probably in English. I'll tell you.
yes.
It's in English or in French.
Melody, thank you so much again for being one of our full members, and this has been a great pleasure. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have. Like, I'm happy. So yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
Mark.